Hello, welcome. My name is Alex from Carringtons, and today I'm joined by the lovely
Jess.
And some preface for the video. I wanted to discuss, for anyone who's been following us, or if you're new and this is the first video you're watching, we are an estate agent that's been established for over 20 years, and this year in February 2025, God, I've jumped a whole year ahead, 2025, we started a brand new process. And I wanted to dive into a little bit of that process and talk to you guys about the changes, how we used to operate as a more traditional estate agent, how we've changed, the results that have come as part of that. A lot of people may see this and think, this is absolute rubbish, this is an estate agent trying to sell me things. The biggest factor and thing that we looked to change from the very outset was being nothing but honest and transparent, which I think you'll agree has been a very difficult change. As estate agents, it's drilled into you to tell little white lies here and there, to manipulate, to do anything you can to get the sale done. And this is nothing but the truth in this video. And to hopefully make you guys understand why that's the case, what we looked at when changing our whole process was the three pillars: us as a business, buyers, and sellers, and how any change we can make can be mutually beneficial to all three of those parties. So first and foremost, as a business owner and someone who runs and operates the business, one of the reasons that we changed this at the very beginning of the year was an external party helped us realize that we actually worked for free, or worse yet, we spent money on clients that we didn't sell for. And what we needed to get our heads around was we wanted to operate at such an efficient level whereby we sold everything that we took to the market. And touch wood, until this point in time of recording, every property that we have taken on freehold house this year, we have successfully sold through to completion or is currently under offer. And that's 22 houses in total that have currently run through this new process. And yeah, touch wood so far have been going through without too many major hiccups. So from a business perspective, that's obviously great for us because it means we have a more confident handle on how much we're going to be banking, which I'm sure any of you as business owners can appreciate. That's a fundamental part of operating a business. And then any changes that we implemented had to also be mutually beneficial to both our buyers and sellers. So when we looked at the whole process and what is wrong with the English market, too many fall-throughs, too many price reductions, and not enough properties making it onto the market through to completion. So that was our biggest goal. How do we change that? So from the buyer's perspective, we felt that first and foremost, things weren't as transparent or upfront as they could be. So that was one major change we made, was being honest and open to our buyers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And to summarize that, we took a warts and all approach to our properties, highlighting the bad as much as we did the good, rather than trying to oversell. I did a piece on this on our newsletters. Underselling is the new overselling. For sellers, we have streamlined the process. And again, I'll ask Jess some questions shortly on what we think the biggest changes have been for both buyers and sellers with our process. And when we consider all three of those pillars, us as business owners, buyers and sellers, we found that all of the changes to our process that we have made and consistently are adapting and changing based on mistakes that we have learned from our past, we're getting pretty close to perfection. That said, we check in every single day and realize that we're still miles away from operating at 100% efficiency, and that's where we want to get to for 2026. So let's get into some questions. And one of the first questions that I was going to ask Jess before, just off camera, she actually gave me a brilliant answer to that question, was what has been the biggest positive surprise for you personally, Jess, about working under the new process?
Okay. So, my response. So I actually, prior to working in property, I was in the creative industry for about 10 years. And one of the things, like coming into property, that I was nervous about, initially I worked, in marketing, but was always a little bit surprised and a bit wary of sales because of the disingenuous nature. And I feel that actually, having now worked in sales for a few years now, this is something that has been a constant battle. And I feel where in the past, I've gone on valuations and I've won business, it's based on my rapport and being genuine and authentically myself and wanting to actually help people. I it was very against the grain and very against my nature to be, to not tell the truth. And that has been the biggest and one of the best changes for me. And I think Alex would agree as well, is that although it's a little bit, it's very different, obviously, to the way that we used to be in terms of having to, make the sales happen. But now it's like we're making sales happen and not being nervous about laying everything on the line. As Alex said, the good, the bad and the ugly, it's going to come out regardless. And actually, rather than begin a sale and be holding your breath thinking, oh gosh, I hope they don't find out about X, Y and Z, we're now actually very confidently saying, well, there is this, be mindful of this, and that's also something to consider. It's bringing, confidence to buyers. It's informing sellers of things that they may be able to rectify prior to actually bringing property to the market. So again, you might hear a lot of it's speed to sale rather than speed to market. And I think we're perfecting that even more as well. We're not just rushing to get properties onto the market. We're taking our time and ensuring that the marketing of the property and the presentation and all the information is there to deliver the best that we can for the buyers.
Yeah, I think to touch on that, and I hope I'm not speaking on your behalf, but you also feel this as well. Sleep better at night.
Yeah.
I don't come into work with any form of remorse or worry. Oh, what lie did I tell here? What do I need to keep up here? What did I say to this person that may not be truthful? Mm-hmm. The truth will always come out and protects us from the outset with every single one of these properties, both to our sellers, to our buyers, and also to all of us in here. Mm-hmm. And again, this is very personal to me, and I'm sure, I know you have a similar story, Jess. I've worked for corporate estate agencies, so I have first-hand experience as to what it's like on the other side. And you just get dragged into this world of sales is nothing but sales. Get the sale done, win the instruction, get the keys from the seller, get them signed up to a long contract, and then we'll hammer them on price if we've got the price wrong. Or from buyers manipulating offers to try and get their offer up to squeeze that gap between sellers' expectations and buyers' expectations. And for me, and the reason I've stuck at Carrington so long, and I'm so grateful that after 10 years of being here, we seem to be on the right track. I travel across half of London, as you know, every single day to be here, when I could walk into any estate agency job closer to home. But I've always valued the family that run and operate this estate agency and could see their intentions were as good as ours, morally and aligned. Yeah. We were just stuck in this trap of what is expected from estate agents and how other agents operate and copying the models that worked. And the truth is, a lot of those corporate companies don't sell a lot of their properties. It's all perception of market. And look how many properties we've got, look how many buyers we've got looking. But the results behind closed doors were woeful. Mm-hmm. And from a seller's perspective, 1 in 2 properties not selling through to completion that are marketed, that's the flip of a coin. Yeah. Would you sell anything else under those circumstances, your car, or it's mind-blowing. So I think it's been a real massive shift and change. And I wanted to talk about some of the difficulties that we've had along the way with that, because one thing that we refuse to do now, which again, if you're watching this for the first time, is probably going to be like, what are you talking about? It's such an alien thought process, is value. Mm-hmm. So before I get into that, before this new process change and the afters, what have you seen in terms of your job role change, Jess, before and now through the process, how it's adapted and evolved? Yeah,
no, I mean, so everybody in the sales team, we pretty much, we had sales progressor. Nikki was, primarily sales progressor, but the rest of us were this jack of all trades. And I think now we are streamlining to the best of our abilities what we're the best at, and becoming a master of the one role. So rather than being a jack of all trades and doing a bit of valuation, buyer registration, offer handling, we're now dividing those up and becoming really good at those core areas, and really refining those to be the best and deliver the best to vendors and buyers.
So I now operate and primarily handle offers, offer negotiations, and presenting offers and discussing and negotiating with both buyer and seller. And your job role is, Jess?
Buyer registration, and the viewings, rapport, client rapport. Yeah.
So I think you've got a really interesting part of the job. You are the face of Carringtons to buyers, usually the first point of communication. So I wanted to ask you a few questions with regards to new process versus old. So with the new process, when speaking to buyers, what has been, we talked about it a second ago, value, what has been your biggest challenge, both from buyers and what you've experienced, and also from a personal standpoint in terms of constantly trying to perfect what it is you do, maybe slipping back into old ways? Just touch on that for us.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest change is stripping away value completely, because what in essence we're doing is discovering the market for that property. And when I have these conversations, particularly when booking the off-market viewings, because at first stage, when we take a property on, we take 3 to 4 of our most sort of hot buyers, if you like, into a property to gauge their feedback, and we take this feedback on board with determining our entrance price. So it's having those initial conversations of, this is a property, that fits your criteria. I'd like to take you down, and I'm immediately hit with,
what's the price? What's the price? But Jess, what's the price? You must have some idea.
And
what is the price?
Yeah, nobody can really get their heads around, and it did take us some time. It did.
Absolutely.
It really did. To really take away this value, this question, and having that fixed price stamp in your head. Because, and actually, one phone call that I took just yesterday, she said, well, what if you're wasting my time? And and Alex actually, had said, well, don't you don't go on all your viewings and offer on all those properties. There are viewings that you will go on that will be a waste of time or part of the discovery process. But for those people that have been looking, have missed out on other properties, a lot of buyers are aware of what is selling, what is around. So when they walk into properties and they can see, subjectively, whether they'd want to replace a kitchen or a bathroom or remodel the property, each buyer will see a change that they might want to make to the property differently to another buyer, which
Absolutely.
is why putting a single stamp price on a property is pretty dangerous from the offset.
It's the detrimental thing you can do, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Absolutely.
And so we're taking this as an opportunity for these buyers to come in, to submit an offer if they wish to, based on their own perception of value, and that is either accepted or rejected by the vendor. They would either continue with our process, go through with the open day. On average, we're seeing 22 viewings per property, 4 to 5 offers. It has to be, a pretty good offer to stop that process in its tracks.
Absolutely.
And we inform the buyers of that from the
Yeah.
offset.
And I think just touching on that, what you said there, even from our experience, it's quite daunting, right? When you get that buyer and they said to you, I'm an international buyer, I've got numerous properties I bought in different countries. Not one of those properties have I ever been proposed the idea without a price. It's quite an aggressive standpoint, and it's daunting, isn't it? It's hard to deal with. But like I said to you, you are protected by the truth. So when she said to you, this could be a waste of time, you're absolutely right, it could be.
Yeah.
But then how many viewings, as you say, have been a waste of time that you've been on because you've had a price in mind before seeing a property? Does it automatically mean you're going to offer on it? No, of course it doesn't. So the truth will always protect you, and it's getting our head around that element of just being nothing but honest to both buyers and sellers. And sometimes that honesty it can be quite taken back by buyers.
Yeah.
But they realise it's the truth. And truth builds trust, and trust leads to confidence in buyers. And this leads me nicely on to how our job roles cross over from the viewings and the registration that you do with the buyers to the offer process.
Yeah.
And maybe this one should be directed slightly more towards me, but I think you can probably see it as well as we sit next to each other. What difference have you noticed in buyers' behaviour since we started this process? And offer seriousness is another massive one, right? How many times in the old process would we have one offer on a property and just clinging to hope, let's try and get that offer through. And because it's the one offer you're working with, you would almost defend the buyer's position to the seller. Now, we represent the seller. We are trying to achieve highest market value for our sellers. Is that the best way to do it? One unsubstantiated offer, regardless of their position, putting their proposal forward, they become the dictator of that situation. Timescales, price, etc., etc. And we would do everything in our power to try and wrap that offer up because it was the only thing we had to work with. So we were protected by that. Well, Mr. Seller, it's the only offer you had. Mr. Seller, it's the only offer you've had. This must be a good offer. But it wasn't the truth, right? Whereas now when we create the markets that we do, as you've touched upon, very difficult for any seller to deny, especially when we're upfront about it, 20 odd viewings on your property. And by the way, within a 2 to 3 week time scale, on average 4 to 5 proceedable offers. And that's another point where we've done a whole lot of content around the difference between a proceedable offer and a non-proceedable offer. But it wouldn't matter in the old way whether it's proceedable or non-proceedable, it would just get that deal tied up. Whereas now it's like, oh, we can be a lot more picky and choosy for our sellers based on their expectations, based on their timescales to move, and a whole raft of other things. And when you're in a position where you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 offers on a property, what a powerful position to be in as a seller. On anything.
Absolutely.
Forget property, on anything.
I mean, on that note though as well, I think you created the Excel sheet, which that is an absolute game changer as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me in terms of like differences in process before and after, there would be times where we had 20, 25 instructions on our boards and vendor management and how much of my week that would take up. Because we know, right, if you ask any seller, why have you chosen to serve your current estate agent notice or have you lost faith in them? The two most common answers would be, well, bar the obvious, they haven't sold my property, communication or lack thereof, and trust has been broken. So we knew this even in old way of agency. We'd be like, right, we need to make sure we're communicating with all our vendors because, again, trying to come from a good place, we're communicating with them, even if it's bad news. If we're touching base with them once, twice a week and making sure that they're in the loop of what's going on with their property. But even with that, you'd slip back into old habits of, I've got someone who's on holiday and they're going to come back in 2 weeks, and clinging on to this false hope of communicating the wrong thing to them.
It's always the over-promising and under-delivering.
Absolutely, over-promising, under-delivering. And that's how most agents operate. It's on hope. They pin to a value, and then when they send the property live, they hope it works out. And we've left that in the past. And as you say, with the Excel sheet, it's a weird one because I find now we have almost less daily, weekly communication with our sellers. But at no point in those 22 properties have we had a complaint of, why haven't you come back to me? Where are we up to? Because from the start, from the outset of when Andrew is delivering our process, and that's what it is, it's a proven process that works, removing value from that process, our sellers have a very clear understanding of, these are the timescales, this is what we're looking to deliver, and if we don't deliver them, get rid of us. And it's as simple as that. No contract. So that's one big change, right? No contract, 2 weeks notice period. Any agent that is trying to tie you into a contract is only to their benefit. And that's what we say to all of our sellers. Here is our proven process, here is what we deliver, here are the deliverables, in the timescale we'll deliver them. And we're working, therefore, on trust from the very outset. And as you said, with the Excel sheet, it's convoluted. It's a lot of updating for both of us to constantly be on the ball to make sure, because oftentimes we're updating anything from 15 to 25 viewings, their budget, their position, first conversations, their viewing, whether or not they've had a second viewing, their comments, their feedback, conversations that we've had with them, then offer. Then if that offer is rejected, where they go to, then the next offer, so on and so forth. So it's very, very, very convoluted, this Excel sheet. But again, it's easier for us to communicate in that manner, updating it as those 2 weeks go on, then here's the spreadsheet. You can look through transparently the good, the bad, and the ugly of what all the buyers have said, including your offers. And interesting.
And it's not coming from us. This is
unfiltered from buyers,
feedback.
Which is daunting, right? It's quite scary.
Yeah, and actually one of the biggest surprises I've found as well, which I think is worth noting, is when people have these budget ranges, but they offer much less, but they give their reasons as to why. And if you have multiple buyers all offering around a similar level, even though they can stretch, it signifies that's where the market value is. So, because that's another question I've had, with, well, an entrance price determines activity, but what if you go, and it is an absolute fine art to get that right, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And that has been a question that comes up for me, well, what if people only have a budget to a certain level? It's just not the case, is it, Alex? We've discovered that even with these wider ranges, buyers will offer where they see fit, which is why even with the off-market viewings where we're saying, come down, give us your genuine feedback. You've been out looking, you're the hottest person on the front line looking at properties. You've got an idea of budget and exactly what you would pay for a property. Compared
to properties they've walked into that we haven't seen.
Exactly, yeah.
They're in as good a position as us to give a value on that property as we are.
But then it's also, the
or give their opinion, I should say.
Then cannot argue with that if we're seeing those 4 or 5 offers coming in around a very similar ballpark. They can't say, well, that's our fault. If we've had, 25 viewings and all of these offers, it's that's the true market value.
So we touched on a couple of points that we've changed in our process. So no more talk of value, which was very difficult to understand for both sellers and buyers.
Yeah.
But I summarise this in other social media posts and do lots of newsletters about this, so make sure you sign up to those if you aren't already. When it comes to our entrance prices, you've touched upon the job, and this is for all sellers. We operate out of Kingston, southwest London, but this can be for anyone in England looking to sell. This is the way you need to market your property. You get one shot to launch your property and get the price correct. If you are choosing an agent based on them promising and over-promising and under-delivering on a price that sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And that is the one thing you can do to devalue your home. Overlist it to begin with. If you get no inquiries off of that first listing, you only have one way to go from there, which is downwards. Now again, as a seller, and this is where we really had to flip it and make our sellers understand, all of our marketing material is designed, streamlined, and prepared for the buyers, not for our sellers. And our sellers understand that. We want to make the buyer's experience as easy and transparent as possible. That's why we say warts and all. List the bad things about the property, list things that aren't easy to see on photos or floor plans. Be transparent with it because it'll all come to light anyway. And it makes your buyers that call up on the property even hotter or more likely to offer on your property because they already know everything bad about it. It's quite simple psychology, really. And if you imagine 99% of the competition of sellers, their agents are preparing all of their marketing material from price through to description, through to photos, to pander to your ego as a seller or to their own ego as an estate agent, or look how amazing our marketing looks. We're not here to sell properties, they sell themselves. Yeah. We're here to be the oil on the wheel that makes the whole process streamlined and easier for our buyers and our sellers. So you've got to start with that entrance price, that price point. It should be nothing more than to attract as many buyers as possible. Do you want to be in a position where you launch your property and your agent has 2 phone calls in for it? Or do you want to be in a position where you launch your property and they have 40 people ringing about your house? It's really simple. And if the fear is, as a lot of our sellers are surprised when we first talk about the entrance price, but that's what you're going to sell my home for? Not necessarily. And whilst we make no guarantees or promises that we will achieve above our guide price, Of those 22 properties, there hasn't been a single one yet that hasn't exceeded its guide price, all in various ranges. And that's why we don't like to hold ourselves to a figure, because we could never have told you from before. There's 4 or 5 examples I can think of, and likewise yourself, where you go, wow, that sold for that.
Yeah.
And others where you perhaps had an opinion on, you went, oh, that didn't quite sell for as much as I thought. Well, thank God we're not tied to a value from the outset where we give our opinion on it, remove all of our opinion from it, make it objective.
And I have to say that has been, you know, of the positives that we've talked about, that's been a real difficulty for me, actually, like stepping away from giving my opinion. And, you know, I know that we get a lot of questions, well, you're the expert, you know, based on your experience. And it's really stepping back from that, saying my opinion, you know, what I think is actually irrelevant. It's what works for you, what's right for you. And I think I want to ask Alex, you know, really based on that huge piece of learning for all of us here, have you seen any change in key results, so from time to going under offer, time to completion, fall throughs, you know, specific examples that come to mind?
Well, I'm glad you asked, and this isn't prepared at all. So comparing to our old traditional agency, and I have 18 properties that carried on from old listings in 2024, beginning of 2025, when we hadn't yet brought on this new process. We averaged 12 viewings per property, 2 offering parties, a total time on the market of 97 days, so over 3 months of marketing, time from under offer through to exchange at 107 days, so 3.5 months. So on average, from a property listing through to exchange took 204 days, so almost 7 months. And the crazy thing is, we seem so high and mighty now, we're talking about our new process and we're like, Christ, that looks awful. But we would have looked at that back in January and gone, that's quite good
normal
compared to industry standards.
Yeah.
Now this is where it gets even scarier, right? That's 18 successful sales. And I look at those stats now and they're damning, and oh God, I think compared to what we do now, it's crazy that we used to operate in that manner. That's of 42 listings overall. So only 18 of those 42 actually got through to completion, which is below national average, higher than a lot of the London corporate agents, I'll add, but below national average. And we failed 60% of our clients there. And I would even argue 40% of them that we sold for now, I wish we'd done this 2 years earlier, 3 years earlier. And there's so many clients I wish I could just turn back the clock and rewind time. But this is it, right? We're learning from our old mistakes and constantly developing this new process. Now, compare that to the new process. So 204 days from time on the market till exchanged. With our new process, that's down to an average of 99 days from property listing through to exchange. So just over 3 months in total from when the property is listed till when it exchanges. And that includes some chain properties in there. They're not all chain free. These are properties that have had to go on and source and buy themselves. So of 22 new houses that we've listed, 10 of which have gone through to completion that I've been able to give those stats for, including the other 12 that are currently on the market, or have gone under offer, I should say. Time on the market on average is 27 days, so under 1 month. With 21 viewings on average and 4, as we say, 4 to 5, but 4 point something, 4 offering parties per property. 72 days from time of under offer till exchanged, so just over 2 months. I don't think any of us at the beginning of this year truly believed where we would be coming towards the end of this year. And touch wood, I keep touching wood because it's going to inevitably happen. We always said, didn't mean a lot to the outside perspective, but we said by 2026, we want to have a 90% completion rate. 9 out of 10 properties going through to completion. None of us could have predicted that 10 months on, touch wood, every single house that we brought to market has gone through to being under offer and to completed without a fall through. It's honestly mind-blowing. And again, I'll refer back to the beginning of this video. This isn't stats to try and oversell what we do. This is just the reality and the fact of it. And we can showcase this to anyone. We implore you to speak to some of our old clients that have used this process, this new process. And I'm doing my best to get interviews from traditional old agency and how convoluted and hard it was for people back then compared to buyers and sellers' experience on this new process and the benefits to them. So thank you for that question. That wasn't at all pre-planned. But yeah, no, it is quite phenomenal. Moving on to...
I think actually just off the back of that one as well, again, going back to conversations that I'm having with buyers where they've initially called in and inquired on a property, cancelled the viewing, called back, maybe with a couple of these where they actually go under offer within this 3 weeks, call back 3 weeks to a month later, where it may not necessarily have been marked sold subject to contract online, so it's still showing as available because we're offer handling at that point. And then inquiring, wanting to book the viewing when we're at that point of imminently about to accept an offer, and being incredibly surprised, almost thinking that I'm not telling the truth, that actually I'm really sorry, but you've missed out on this property.
Oh, so you've got one person offering. Okay, well, look, I can still come in and view. Yeah, no, we have 5 people offering. The owner has stopped viewings.
Yeah,
we're
and
about
the
to
numbers
accept
of
an offer.
offers that I'm telling, these prospective buyers as well. I'm sorry, we've had 7 offers, or we've had, because it is fluctuating when we say the average is 4 to 5. Some receive 8, some receive 4. I think the lowest actually has been 4.
No, we had a couple with like 2, but there was obviously a couple of off-market properties as well that didn't, as you say, that didn't even reach the market. So only 3-4 viewings.
That's right. Yeah, but it's the surprise factor, I think, where just on the whole, most people are thinking, or from and quite rightly seeing on Rightmove that properties are listing for
6
weeks
months,
and months on end.
10 months price reduction.
So cannot believe it.
Yeah, so 0 price reductions, 22 properties under offer.
Yeah.
Touch wood, it's going brilliantly. Now, I wanted to, obviously we talked about some of our struggles internally with changing and shifting to this just transparent, objective standpoint where we help mainly buyers streamline this process. And some of the conversations we've had, and you can tell a hot buyer from when they call up. I've done videos on this before where obviously I help you with some of the registration and viewings. 80% of all buyers that are calling in are a waste of time.
Yeah.
They're not in a proceedable position.
Not proceedable.
They think the world is owed to them. Oh, I've got a property that I could sell. My agent tells me it will sell in a week, so I want to find the right property first. And those people, again, time and time again, are still viewing our properties and missing out and can't believe, as you say, the speed at which things are moving. And more importantly, the fact that they're competing against 3, 4, 5 proceedable buyers on one property and are just not in a position of power. Obviously, one major change, we talked no contract. We talked value, removing all subjectiveness and our opinions on property, so we become very objective. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Our descriptions now are bullet points.
Yeah.
They are factual, the good, the bad, and the ugly about a property. How has that changed when you talk through the buyers about that part of the process and about survey, etc.? I don't want to touch on that too much because obviously we don't want to give every secret away so other agents can copy us. But certainly on the objective writing of the property descriptions, how would you say that's changed your conversations when speaking to buyers?
Well, I think in essence, because we are putting all the most relevant and important information up. I mean, again, it's something that is constantly evolving. We're ensuring that actually we're trying to put the information down that you can't see on the photos or the floor plan. So it's all the hidden elements rather than a stunning house on, a sought-after road. I actually read property descriptions now and I'm just like, I hate it. I really hate it.
And hands up, we used to be those.
Yeah, of course.
Carringtons are delighted to bring this property to the market. Oh,
the time I spent writing these flowery descriptions that really, having bought and sold as well in the past, you flit over all this
buyers
fluffy
don't
information.
Care.
It's irrelevant. So it's cutting straight to the point. The questions are just, short and sharp.
Does it have a chain?
It's much quicker. Yeah.
Does it have a chain? Yes or no?
I mean,
are there any hidden service charges or any charges? Are there any covenants to the property?
Yeah.
Stuff that you want to know as a buyer before viewing.
Yeah.
And what does that mean when you then get and you receive 20, 30 calls in the first week or two of launching our properties, are you finding that there are then less questions from the buyers?
Yeah, especially when you've noted all the key information, you're not being asked about, well, what are the service charges, or what's the tenure when it's tenure is obviously one that's mostly there, but these questions that I think a lot of buyers, and you'll call up and go, oh God, I've got to go through all this and ask these questions. Again, it's just being transparent with that information, whether it's good or bad. They're going to find out. Whether they find out via us over the telephone, why not just put it down
or later on, right? This is what we say. So one of the reasons and elements that we try to streamline this whole process, and mainly the conveyancing time, so from going under offer to exchange, it's very, very simple. If I were to draw a graph for you, the longer your property is under offer and not exchanged, the more likely it is to fall through.
Yeah.
For hundreds of reasons, which I won't list, but here's just a few. New properties coming to the market, and the buyer might prefer one of those new properties that's come on the market. Change in job position, death in family, genuine reasons as well that we just wouldn't be able to change. But confidence in that property. How many times have we heard people call us up and say, I was under offer for 7 months and I've just decided to pull the plug today. I'm no closer to exchange. I feel further away than I was when I had my offer accepted. Yeah. And the reason we're trying to cut down that time is for both buyer, seller, and us as a business's benefit. If you know that your property is going to exchange in 2 months from now, and the buyer knows it's going to exchange in 2 months from now, and then hypothetically complete in 2 to 3 months from now, everyone's a lot clearer. Guidelines from the outset. Now, these things are only doable in certain situations when a property is completely chain-free and doesn't have a chain. But again, there's plenty of buyers out there that were happy to wait on a chain. But put the information there up front. Why waste buyers' times getting to a point where we create a scenario where we've got an amazing price, and 12 weeks into the process, it all falls down because of hidden things on a survey, unknowns about property, neighbour disputes, anything that could derail a sale. It's just so backwards the way this country and estate agents operate, and that's what we're trying to flip on its head.
Yeah. I mean, I think, people, probably other agents watching this will probably say, well, you put all that information up front, they're not going to even call you for the viewing. But actually, it's quite the opposite, because there's a very clear understanding. And as Alex says, even if you do mention something about, that it is slightly negative, that can be factored in, because at every single point with every sale, it always comes down to price and at the offer stage, which is why, surveys, when you're getting to that stage and something comes out that hasn't been budgeted for, guess what? You have a withdrawal.
Renegotiation or withdrawal. Exactly that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think on top of that, some of the conversations I picked up on, which I'm sure you have as well, buyers appreciate the transparency, right? And when we're then talking them through, because that's where our conversations I think have developed more, we're talking less about the property or selling the property less because they've already stated their interest in it.
Yeah.
We're then talking through our set process.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to pull it back to again, buyers benefit, sellers benefit. Our sellers benefit from structured, set open days, planned for, right?
Yep.
So day one of marketing, we leave the property on the market for 2 weeks to make sure we're gathering all inquiries, registering people in further detail than we ever did before, making sure they're substantiated, ready to go, say what they say they are, and we're booking them in for an open day. Now, this is a very, very fine point, but I think this is very beneficial to sellers, so should be talked about. As a seller and as someone who's sold your own property and has been in the industry before, would you prefer our process where you have one open day, where you've tidied, got the property looking its absolute best, you and your family have gone out for the day, left the keys with the agent, they can operate the whole day, and as we often have, maybe 15, 18, 20 people viewing the property, you inevitably get last-minute cancellations. Now compare that to the old way of doing things and how we used to operate, ad hoc viewings.
Yeah.
You'd have a 6 o'clock at night where you've given up your personal time, or a Sunday viewing, and the seller every single time is trying to keep the house tidy, pristine, looking good for the viewing, and you get last minute cancellations.
Yeah.
It's frustrating for you
it's awful.
as the agent, for the seller, and the buyer's not held to any consequence. Now, we understand cancellation is going to happen. It's inevitable. But when you've got 18 people viewing a property and 3 cancel on the day, well, guess what? It's not a wasted day.
Yeah.
You've tidied for 15 other buyers.
Yeah.
Then with our set structure, you've got second week for second viewings, third viewings, additional inquiries that have come late to the party, in some cases a second open day if necessary, if the interest levels are there. You have all in all, on average for our sellers, about 7 or 8 days they're showing their property. We've had properties on the market for 6, 12 months at a time where they've shown across the span of 30, 40, 50 different days, where they've had to tidy, leave the property, and in a lot of cases been disappointed by cancellations last minute. It's just so backwards. And again, we're constantly trying to fix these issues. And buyers don't mind. If they are serious buyers and you give them that date, if they can't make it and there's a genuine reason, book them in for the following week or the following weekend. Inevitably, we can't please everyone. 1 or 2 people might miss out, might not be able to make the timescale at which we are operating and selling that property.
Yeah.
But our sellers fear, well, will everyone come to the property if I'm not more receptive and open to viewings? Absolutely, you'll have a market for your property, and that's what we're looking to ensure every single time we bring a property to the market.
Yeah.
So this set process with regards to marketing, objective, truthful, transparent, open detail for our buyers to view, have the open day, second and third viewings, and then we move into my phase of things, which is offer handling. And we briefly touched upon this before, but as a seller of anything, forget property for a second. If you're selling your car, if you're selling a retro guitar that you own, if you're selling an item of clothing, why do you think so many... You're way better positioned to tell people this than I am, Jess. I'm going to list a few here and hope I get them right. Vinted or eBay, or why do so many of these companies operate on more of a auction-based system rather than a price it really high and see what comes in? I think they want to encourage multiple bidders, right?
Yeah, multiple bidders and the sense of urgency, that... And I know, having a teenage daughter as well, who I've encouraged to help, well, I sit with her, but will buy, certain items off Vinted. I see what happens where something's liked so many times, it's like, wow, that must be, that's in demand, and therefore you want what other people want. If something is liked, and I also think, buyers are thinking into the future as well, that, well, if a property is receiving this many viewings, that's a sign that when I come to sell the property in the future,
it will be sought after.
That actually it's going to also be sought after at that point. So I think that's an important point.
Absolutely, and I think that ties back into sellers understanding that the objective truth when selling your property and pandering your marketing to buyers and no one else is so important, because you've all been buyers yourselves, and if you have looked on Rightmove or Zoopla any time, it's inescapable. You see a property that's been listed, you see the date it was listed, and if it had a reduction in price.
Oh, yeah.
And what's your first thought when you see a property that's been on the market for 6 months and has had a reduction in price?
What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it? Why hasn't it sold?
Yeah.
Do you want to be that property when you come to sell and have buyers perceive you in that? Because I can tell you right now, you could have a magic estate agent, and if that's how your property is perceived online, they're going to struggle to sell your property. And that leads me on to something else that we used to do, that I know huge corporate agencies around London bang on about. We've got hundreds of thousands of buyers looking in London, hundreds of thousands of registered buyers. This is a big change from your standpoint, from my standpoint. We're not calling through hundreds of people anymore, begging them to come and see a property. You're receiving hot, direct calls about your property and your property alone. So another unique part about our process is we won't list properties at the same time that are in a similar price bracket or offer similar functionality to another property, i.e. 2 properties on the same road, because it goes against what we're trying to create, which is a mini market for that property, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this, not naming names here, but they tend to drive around in minis, and literally their whole business model is around touring with properties. Taking people from 6 properties with a budget to show them is so outdated, and frankly, any buyer that wants to do that is 99% of the time a waste of, and probably won't be in a position to buy a property. agents that operate on the basis of registering your buyer's details and then taking them away from your property they've registered interest on to go and flog them other properties is so backwards. Every one of our registered buyers that calls in about a property sees that property and that property alone until they have made a decision, cut and dry. Do you want to move forward to a second or third viewing and then offer on this property, or do you not want to? Not taking them around to see 3-4 properties and letting them make the decision, it dilutes what we're trying to do. Another thing that we've changed that I don't think you're aware of it, but it's a more recent change on top of everything we've already discussed, is referral fees.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you, it ties back into the very beginning, trust, not feeling like you've been lied to. It was obviously a big thing for us, and a lot of these corporate agents, a huge amount of their turnover comes from referral fees. And you were telling me the other day about a news article that you were reading on, we won't name the agent, but how they operated. I'd like you to just touch upon that and give some insight to people that they might not know about where a lot of agents make their money and why we have decided to step back from referral fees from anyone, from solicitors, mortgage brokers, surveyors, anyone at all. We have just completely stopped taking referral fees. And I want you to just give your little story on...
Yeah, well, that case in point was, you know, a buyer. So selecting a buyer who was going with a mortgage from a recommendation of theirs versus a buyer who wasn't, and they were swaying the one who was going with them, who was going to deliver that mortgage referral
via the estate agent.
Via the estate agent, pushing them into the position of buying the property and not letting that other buyer even, you know, have a way in, and I think that's just the worst kind of behaviour, isn't it?
It highlights,
you know, the fact that because of that commission, you're going to select that buyer, choosing that broker who you've recommended over another buyer.
Yeah. I mean, it highlights the one thing that we're trying to get away from when we talk about truth and transparency and being honest and upfront and objective more than anything.
Yeah.
We no longer have a conflict of interest in anything we do. We're bulletproof in that regard. We don't have referral fees for our solicitors, from our mortgage brokers, from anyone. They're referrals based on people that we have worked with for years, that we trust. Not some company that's come in through the back door going, oh, if you hand me over this buy, I'll give you another £500 in your back pocket. And that is the norm of the industry, and almost this expectation. Buyers know it, sellers know it, and you sign up with their people, they're probably going to get a little bung behind closed doors. And it creates this conflict of interest. And it brings me on to, again, we've talked about this on newsletters before, so please do sign up if you're not already on those. But the industry norm and this perception, how many buyers and sellers do you hear, oh, I want to sell through the same estate agent I buy through?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's double motivation for them. So I know they're going to be working on my behalf. It is the complete opposite of what you think it is. It is a massive conflict of interest. It is an estate agent that is trying to tie up your agreed offer on that property that you've created interest, that you said you're interested on. And then when it comes to selling your property, doing whatever they can to get that property sold and not work on your behalf to discover the true and highest market value for the property. There's so many conflict of interest within the norms of a estate agency, and referral fees are one that we have walked away from, that we can hold our hands up and say, yeah, again, all of these things, by the way, that we're highlighting, guys, are, we hold our hands up. We used to make these mistakes. We used to lie, deceive, manipulate, get referral fees, and we are moving completely away from it.
I struggle with the lying.
Absolutely. No, we all do, right? As human beings, and this is why I said earlier on, sleeping better at night, coming in knowing that we do nothing but tell the truth. No one likes to lie. No one likes to go home and sit on that lie and worry about it. It eats up at you consistently, and that's the biggest change to us personally. I don't think that will necessarily benefit buyers or sellers massively, but what you can take comfort from in that is that you're seeing nothing but the truth on both ends. There's no manipulation, no lying. It's just the honest truth, and we've removed our opinion from it, which is the biggest factor to help that. So I wanted to ask, here we go. With regards to, from a client's perspective, so both buyers and sellers, where do you think they feel the change the most? So we'll start with buyers. Where do you think you've seen the biggest change over in what we do now compared to what we used to do?
I do think this does apply to both, and I would say clarity. And I mean, I felt nervous. I felt nervous with this, warts and all, thinking, oh, this is going to backfire. Like I did think negatively, like people aren't going to come forward. They're not, that we're just not going to get the viewing numbers or the sellers. How are they going to agree to, have their property sort of highlighted in good and bad ways? But actually, based on our results and even these conversations that we're having, it's incredibly refreshing. And obviously that clarity, that honesty, it's the information, the delivery of information up front, rather than I've got to wade through the weeds to get to, oh right, finally now there's a problem with the roof. Why wasn't I told this at the start? Roofs may be, and the vendor may not know about that, but there are things that people very clearly hide and they don't want them to come out. And I think this warts and all approach has just, as we've both highlighted, has just been extremely refreshing, and actually all for positive reasons. There's been nothing at all negative that I can think of. So clarity, number one, confidence absolutely for buyers, 100%. And the trust, it's building that trust, and we've definitely done that and been thanked for that.
And this is why I bring it back to the pillar of the three, and it's got to be beneficial to buyer, seller, and us involved as well. Confidence for buyer means more serious offers.
Yeah.
More confidence
100%.
For sellers, more confidence for us as business owners that what we are doing is right, and we have a clear outset goal that 3 individual parties are working towards.
Yeah.
Speed, obviously, which helps everything. And I think this is a really, really important one, reducing stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
How many times, and we can go back to our ways and what we did and mistakes we made, time, energy, emotional drainage, financial stress that people go through before pulling out of a sale for both buyer and seller.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, and the financial losses, you know, of paying for certain things up front only to then withdraw and you don't see that money back. Now it's like, and actually we've had a couple of buyers come back saying, I really want to buy a property through you.
And only you.
And only you, because of knowing the steps, because you're saving us financial pitfalls.
Yeah.
And the trust is there. We're building that rapport, and
that's
incredible.
I can add to that, genuine conversations and what I've seen in terms of the offer process. I've had an influx in buyers from Hong Kong, which of course I've dealt with in my last decade of doing this anyway. And their system is so different, like so many other nations. The way in which their government enforces them to sell property, they have so much more clarity on from offer through to our exchange and a deposit being put down. And I have Hong Kong buyers that when I explain this process to them, they go, wow, why is no other agent doing this? We want to buy through you, because the horror stories we've experienced firsthand or heard from family and friends. This country is so backwards in, from builders. And again, this ties back, it all ties into, it's a constantly evolving and moving machine. Referral fees. When we refer builders and our maintenance team that have worked with us for years and years and years on our lettings management portfolio, we're not recommending them to say, oh, we make loads of money from them. We're recommending them because we know they're good at what they do, reliable, and won't take £10,000 from you, close down their company, claim bankruptcy.
Yeah.
You've personally experienced that. So many people have personally experienced that. And it's that, and it leaves you scarred, right?
Yeah.
Like a rescue dog. You feel like, I'm so worried going into ever trusting a builder again. You and I were talking about this the other day in terms of something personal to you in an area you're from, where there are 3 or 4 properties at the moment that have all had loft conversions and they're selling at X amount. And there's one just down the road that's on for 50 or 80,000 pounds, depending on how you look at it, less than those other properties. And surely a loft conversion doesn't cost that much. And I said, but Jess, you've experienced that firsthand.
Yeah.
Just because the work costs X amount, what about the risk factor of employing the wrong builder, getting the wrong person, and time, energy, and effort that goes into that?
Well, I mean, I also, that's, surprising. And I think maybe there are more buyers that are cottoning on to that are doing their homework, doing the research to find out how, before going off to view a property, will call up builders to say how much approximately would a loft conversion cost, and then looking at those prices and discounting viewing altogether. Whereas, if it's and it surprises me that agents aren't really factoring that in before listing at a price where you're looking at other 3-bed houses that are selling for X amount. You've got a 2-bed not far off that, where the 3 beds are selling, and yet to do a loft now, you're probably looking at between 70 and 100,000 pounds to spend, depending on specs.
In the Southwest London area.
In the Southwest
Just in
London
case people
area.
in Manchester fall off their seats.
So, and as Alex is saying, it's an ordeal. And I won't even go into building regulations, but, yes. So it's a tricky one.
I'm going to round this off shortly.
Yes.
Looking into 2026. And again, I'm going to come back to this. We are not perfect by any means. We are still constantly looking to learn from every journey that we go on, every mistake that we make, we're trying to close the gap and make what is a very broken system as trip-free as possible, as stress-free as possible. But the reality is there are still things that we are not in control of, and we can make no guarantees, and we don't. And I just wanted to come back to the very opening, which was value at the beginning, because there's still going to be some people going, it still makes no sense. It's great you're talking about your process and everything that's going on, but you must have an idea on a bracket of value, or I can't operate on those terms. I need to know how much my property sells for before I can go out and start offering. The reason we're protected by the truth is no agent can tell you what your property sells for. That's the honest answer. From £1 through to £2 million, we don't know. We are on this journey with you to discover market value, and we will do that. We deliver it time and time again through our proven process. And to anyone who's sitting there now, currently, as a buyer who hasn't yet got themselves on the market and is looking to sell, you cannot take the position of, I will sell my property when I buy something. Because if you look to buy through us, you're going to be outpaced, you're going to be outbid, you're going to lose out on the property. And if you want to take that flip of a coin chance with other agents out there that are doing it wrong and go through potential heartbreak, time, emotional energy, financial loss in doing so, that's your decision to make. When I say we're still not perfect and what we could change, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Jess. And if you don't have the answer, don't worry, because you already answered it for me today, so I'll prompt you.
Okay.
But within your line of work and what you're currently looking to do in terms of registering people and lining up viewings, what would you change with the flip of a switch tomorrow if we had the budget for it, or budget wasn't an issue, or technology wasn't an issue, if you had the perfect system or something in front of you that would help make your job easier? What would you change to make the buyer's experience easier, the seller's experience easier, and your experience easier?
In terms of booking in viewings, I would do it in the way that hairdressers do it.
Okay, expand on that, please.
Digitally.
What did you have a little moan up to me today about?
I did the back and forth between, the sellers and the buyers, and timings, and booking those timings and the dates, and especially when you've got multiple people. It's a real headache. And of course, this doesn't apply to our open days, but when we're booking the off-market viewings, that's still flexible. I'll just be clear on that point. But yes, to actually have something which I'm sure is possible, or it's in the making, a bit like when you go to book a hair appointment and you can see the person that's cutting your hair, the time and the times that are available. So where it's visible to both seller and buyer and agent, everyone's availability. So you book those slots. And I just think that would save a lot of time.
Wonderful. And likewise,
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's your opinion at the end of the day. It's not wrong. It's just what you're experiencing and what we're constantly trying to change and improve
just so
upon.
you can all see the same calendar.
Yeah. And likewise, I would like a system whereby our buyers, our sellers, our solicitors it's very dangerous. I might have men in black suits and sunglasses coming to my house tonight. I would like to see the demolishing of Rightmove and Zoopla. I think they are an unnecessary stepping stone for the buyers are basically handcuffed to have to use, because that's where most agents list. But I would love our own system where we could just list our properties with all of the information transparently on there, with sellers and buyers, solicitors' notes on there, all updated, so it's even more transparent and objective and upfront than it already is.
A check off for the
All of those things
properly done.
And buyers have the ability, without me being a stepping stone or a hurdle. Email is one thing and what we offer them at the moment, but have the ability to offer then and there through that system. And the seller see it without me even having a conversation. Because, as you say, transparency, trust, I have to, by law, put all offers forward to the seller, and I am. But I am still a hindrance to that process. If they could just upload onto a system where the seller could see it, and they could see the seller's reaction to that and see it transparently, it would make the whole thing more seamless and transparent. So looking into 2026, hopefully we have an amazing end of the year to 2025, and I'm confident in it, as I'm sure you are, growing in confidence with this process. If there is anyone in and around the southwest London area, in and around Kingston upon Thames, within a sort of 3 to 4 mile radius, we are an independent family-run business, so we're limited in where we can reach. But hopefully, watching this video, you've learned something if you're a seller in Manchester or Liverpool or Bolton or wherever you may be, and this has helped you in terms of selecting an agent that you want to sell with, helped you make the right decision in terms of when you come to sell. But for any homeowners in our own patch that are looking to sell in 2026, do get in contact with us this side of the year. We need to start having conversations with you. As Jess touched upon earlier, we are slow in, fast out. Whilst we operate at this incredibly quick speed, we can't just speak to you today, list your property tomorrow and produce these results. There is a lot that goes into this process, time, energy and thought between all of us, that needs to be ticked along the way to ensure that we can deliver these deliverables for you. So if you are considering selling at some point in 2026 and or buying in the area, please do get in contact with us. Myself, Jess, Nikki or Andrew will be happy to help. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Jess, for coming along. I appreciate it. This isn't the most comfortable of circumstances, but thank you for sharing your thoughts. It was wonderful. And if you have any questions, as I say, drop us a call or an email and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you.
Thank you.